Hello and welcome to the Point to Rise show. This is your host, Susanne, former international ballerina that found her passion in mindset, business, and technology, and is today the founder of Rise Media. It is my purpose to use all the experiences of my past to create a better, financially sustainable future for the performing arts industry. And that starts with every single one of us. I believe that being you is your superpower. And I am here to guide you, empower you, inspire you, and give you all the resources you need to rise above what you think you're capable of. Every week, I'll bring you 3 shows featuring guests, collaboration, and mini episodes to ensure that you have the support in your journey as a performer. I want you to know that you are not alone. Stop chasing and start creating. Your success starts now, here with you. So let's go. Welcome back to the show, Cultivating Happier Dancers. Before we're talking about our topic today, which is what is burnout and how can you prevent it? It's a huge topic, dear to our heart too. Throw something in here. So if you enjoy watching this show and listening to our show, then we invite you to actually sign up to the Dance and weekly newsletter. Like, you get so much juicy information in there. You can go either to the Instagram page, to their website, you can go to the show notes, you can go to Point to Rise, to my page, my personal page. You will find links everywhere. So if this is really something that is good for you and really helping you, and if you can think of somebody that you can share it with and make a difference in their life, we really, really inspire and motivate you to sign up right now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right.
That's information. It's free.
Women to the power. Let's talk about burnout. Okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm happy to talk about burnout.
Story time.
I'm always happy to talk about burnout. So, Cultivating Happier Dancers is the podcast. How can we do that when we're burnt out? Spoiler alert. It's not possible usually. So, I have a story. I feel like that's not how I start 98% of my sentences in life is I have a story. I have a story. And I know 99.9% of you listening will probably nod your head through all of this. I live in the US. It's 2020. It's March. And the COVID global pandemic is beginning to shut down all things. The college that I currently chair for, that I was chairing for at the time of the dance department, decides that we're not coming back. And we need to figure out how to teach dance education online. And as the year goes on, you know, there's back and forth between, do we pull the dance classes and just do the academics because they're easier online? How do we do this? Do we make dancers dance in their living rooms, in their bedrooms, in their backyards, in their basements, in their driveways? Is that better? Like, how do we do this? Nobody knew what to do or how to do this. The whole world in an instant changed, and we all had to pivot and make our lives work in this digital space. So much like everybody else, my 2020 and even into 2021 was constantly spent in a state of anxiety, worry, frustration. I wasn't sleeping at night because I was so worried about, am I making the right choice for my students? Are they getting a good education? Should we be asking them to dance like this? They're going to get hurt. This is crazy. I was responding to emails from parents, from students, from administrators, from faculty, from all the time. My phone was like this, attached to my hip. I was working from home. My husband was working from home. My toddler at the time was at home, and I never left work because work was home. We were all stuck in these walls, and I was just in this state of complete overwhelm, and I was not replenishing what I was giving out. And even in those moments of knowing that and logically knowing that, I could not convince myself to step out of this bubble of burnout that I had entered. I knew I wasn't a surgeon. Lives were not in my hands, but it felt that way. My body was constantly just drained. I couldn't sleep. My heart was racing. My blood pressure was sky high. I would start shaking in the middle of the day, and not because I had too much caffeine. I was just so stressed out. And stress begets more stress, right? Because all of these things are connected. So your mind space it affects your thoughts affect your actions affect your mind. And I was in this loop. I was stuck in this loop. And truth be told, I'm still climbing and crawling my way out of it. And we're now in 2022. And it was a fast fall into it, and it's a slow crawl out of it. But I really work every day to make sure that I am replenishing what I give out. And that's really, really hard to do, because that means I cannot give of myself as much as I feel pressured to, as much as I would like to. And that's something that I have to work on for myself, right? It's creating those boundaries, because there will be nothing left if I continue in the cycle of burnout.
Hey, I am. Do you want to say something, Michelle, before I?
No, I was just going to say, like, I think you just told the story of many, many, many people. I think it's helpful in all of this to know, like, we're talking about it, like, you're not alone. Like, if you're listening or watching, or like, we're there, you're there, we're here together. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, and it just brought me right back to my time in the studios and wherever you are, that it is just being asked of you to give, to tap into that cycle of consistent stress, because that's how we tap into burnout, actually, without having the time, giving yourself the time, having the boundaries to actually replenish. Because let's be honest, evolving, learning, teaching, there are always two sides to it. It's giving something, and then you need to take something too. Otherwise, you will get, and really quickly, to a point where you don't have anything left to give. I want to insert something here before we get into the science of burnout. Kristin.
Yes.
My love.
Kristin.
We had this conversation just before we started. It is really hard for German people to say Kristin.
Which is why every time she said Christine, I was like, yeah, that's also my name. I got the last name Dice. German runs in my blood. I'm a Christine too.
There is a change that has occurred over the last, I would say, 4 weeks in you, that I'm seeing that you are more tapped into you and your own power and who you really want to be than I have seen before. I've seen inklings, but it's now like, oh, nothing can stop her anymore. And that has to do, we get to that point when we understand that we need to take care of ourselves first, and then once again, and then one more time. And I understand that it's really hard for women, for mothers, for teachers, because we think we're here to save. It is our job to give all the time, and we have not learned. We don't know what that looks like. We feel selfish if we do. Take time for us and fill our cup. Tony Robbins always says, if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself where you replenish, you don't have a life. And I feel that dance educators think that it is a bad thing if we take care of ourselves. Isn't that, and this is my personal experience, that it was always frowned upon. What, are you taking a day off? Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, that's bad. You can't do that. And it's time that we're breaking that cycle. Like, if it starts with us right here, right now, if it starts with you talking about burnout, and that it might not be a clinical proven illness right now, well, let's make it that it won't be. So many people suffer from it. 24% more of people actually suffered from severe burnout in 2020 alone, just because we were in this new phase where nobody knew what to do and how to do it, right? And we thought we all have to fix it without giving ourselves grace. So let's go back and actually get into, so I have my resources from the Calmer app. They have a huge blog and there is a huge write-up around burnout, how to prevent it. There are 5 phases of burnout. And if you're listening and you really want to know more about that and perhaps also prevent your students from tapping into it, because it is not worth a gold medal. I'm telling you right now, it is not worth a gold medal. You're not better because you have signs of burnout. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. And stress can look different for all of us. We respond differently to what's coming at us. It is our job to see and to learn ourselves and how we react to certain things, how much we can basically take of certain things without tapping into a prolonged excessive amount of time where we're being in that state of stress. It occurs when we feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Overwhelmed, learning new things, being in situations where we feel unsafe or insecure, okay? Emotionally drained, when we're around people that perhaps are draining us, energies that are draining us, conversations that we shouldn't have anymore. That's how we emotionally drain ourselves. And if we don't replenish that energy, we're heading that way. As the stress continues, we begin to lose the interest and motivation that led us to take on certain roles in the first place. When you feel yourself, like, I'm struggling getting out of bed in the morning, even though I love what I do, but yet it's harder for me to get there, to actually be motivated. That's a sign. That's like, oh, I'm not taking care of myself enough, okay? Burnout reduces productivity and zaps our energy. It leaves us feeling increasingly helpless, hopeless, cynical, and resentful. We talked a little bit about the mean girl syndrome in our last episode. So check in with the people that are perhaps being mean to others. Is that maybe because they're also exhausted? Because that is definitely, we don't have the energy to tap into a positive mindset, because seeing fear and what's wrong in our world is it's our default. That's how we're wired. That's our 2 million year old brain that is still looking for survival, meaning looking for the danger out there. That's what we're tapping back into when we're tired and when we're exhausted. There are 5 phases of burnout. The first one is called the honeymoon phase, which I always thought it has absolutely nothing to do with burnout. But here's the thing. This is how we start the cycle, I would say. So it is when we start undertaking new tasks and we start off with like experiencing joy in the job and satisfaction. We're committed, we have high energy, and we're creative. That's especially true of when we take on new roles or have a new job or start a new class or whatever it is that's new in your life.
Or enter a global pandemic.
Exactly. You know, everybody in the first 2 weeks was like, woohoo! Like,
yeah, we're gonna crush this. We got it.
Yeah. It's like 6 weeks into it, like, oh my gosh, I can hardly breathe anymore, right? So in this phase, we're really tapping into all our energies that we can produce. Like, hormones are being produced that make us feel better, more creative. And the theory is that if we create good coping strategies at this stage, that we can actually continue to stay in this honeymoon phase, meaning that if we really take care of ourselves, and that is to be defined by every single person, that on whatever that is for you, you can stay in that phase. You don't have to go down the rabbit hole and feel exhausted and low energy and get cynical. That's the goal, to stay there, to stay motivated, to stay full of energy. So then the next one is just the onset of stress. The second stage of burnout begins with an awareness of that some days are being more difficult than others. We can all, like, somewhere see ourselves there, right? You may find that your optimism is waning, like you don't always have like that super positive mindset, and you notice that common stress symptoms affecting you physically, mentally, or emotionally. High blood pressure, inability to focus, irritability, like we're reacting a little scrapper to, let's say, feedback, right? We're not as satisfied. Lack of sleep is a big thing that comes in pretty quickly. Lower productivity, anxiety, not wanting to make decisions anymore, fatigue, change of appetite and diet, craving sweets more than not feeling like taking care of ourselves anymore, and forgetfulness. I just raised my hand. Okay. Next phase, number 3, is chronic stress. We don't want to get there. That third stage of burnout is chronic stress. This is marked actually quite a significant change in our stress level, going from motivation to experiencing stress on an incredible frequent base, meaning you're mostly in that cortisol output stage of like stress, like you said. You also may experience some intense symptoms than in the earlier stage on this set on. You don't even want to buy into hobbies. Like all you can do is sit on your couch and watch TV, missing deadlines, persistent tiredness. You get sicker more often, procrastination, you're late at work, you have no motivation. Like there is so much, all these little things where we actually like could judge. Sometimes as employers we judge, like, why is that person not coming to work on time? Why they're consistent tired? Why is that girl or boy not showing up in classes motivated anymore? Well, maybe they're in a stage of burnout. So ask the question. Number 4, that's where symptoms are actually becoming really critical. When we continue with putting ourselves in stressful situation over and over and over again, and we think we're doing the right thing, this is when we're heading actually into clear official burnout. It means that it actually becomes increasingly harder for us to cope with anything that is within our environment. That means like even getting up. I'm sure you can relate, but who has felt like crying from the point of when you opened your eyes? Like I've been there because I didn't want to go. I could not even think of, right? Yeah.
I used to dread. I used to dread going to sleep because I knew tomorrow would come where I'd have to do it all over again.
Yep.
And what kind of a state are we in at that point? Like, what are we actually able to produce or to give or to learn? Like, it's not something that we can do. We just think it is being asked of us. We just think that, oh, the more tired I am, the more resilient I am, and the harder I can work, or the longer or the more stamina I build up. And let's not, no, it's just a no. Just do not do that. Other symptoms of that actual stage is that you're consistently pessimistic. Like you can't even see the good in things anymore. You're feeling empty inside. You withdraw yourself. Sometimes depression a little bit is coming in. Again, the crying over and over again. You isolate yourself from everything physical, headache, stomach, digestion. These are all impacted by when we're heading into that actual burnout stage where we have had stress coming towards us for way, way too long. And the only way out of that is actually to stop everything and go restore your body, which means, like, for me, it was always sleep. Like I just slept for days and days and days, and then start your mental work again. Number 5 is, and I hope nobody ever gets there, it's the habitual burnout. That means when we're actually consistently operating in that state of being unable to sleep, crying every minute something doesn't go the way we expected. We have nothing left to fight back, like, and things become chronic. Meaning like sadness, depression, anxiety, mental fatigue, physically being so tired that you actually can't get yourself in the shower anymore. And that is not something that I have experienced often. However, I've been there, and I can only tell you that if we allow ourselves to actually get to that stage, we have to really look at how much do we actually have in ourselves for ourselves in terms of love, compassion, worthiness. Like, where are we at? Because if we allow ourselves to give so much for everybody else and we're not giving that same love to ourselves, then there is something off and unaligned.
Yeah.
So how do we fix it?
Right.
Fix it.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing, like, you know, we all think that the cure to burnout, like, you know, the social media and the world tells us like the cure to burnout is like, go spend like a week at the spa and like take care of yourself. And, you know, as a person with, you know, new company, a job, a young child, like I can't take a day off. Like there's no world in which my kid, you know, I can't not feed my kid, you know what I mean? Like, so I think there are so many people that are feeling burnout, that are feeling kind of trapped because they don't have like a week to go to the spa. But in fact, like it is easier and it is more effective to take shorter, more frequent breaks. And for me, I found that the easiest way to do it is to schedule it, literally schedule it, put it in my planner, like put it in my, like literally like, here's my half hour. And then I call it mama time and I put it in our family's calendar. And then I'll put it, like Kristin knows, I put it in our company and Dan Sen's calendar. Like it's like, I'm going to be by myself and do something, right? Now, when you're doing that, the temptation is to just zone out, scroll social media, like not think about anything. There are so many studies. I love Andrew Huberman, who's a fantastic neuroscientist, who talks about the benefits of sunlight on mood. And it doesn't have to be like sunshiny Los Angeles. It's like even just getting outside for a few minutes, not only because here's the problem with like the burnout is the lack of sleep. And then the lack of sleep, like it like folds in on itself because, you know, when we have lack of sleep, we have less coping mechanisms. We are less prepared mentally and emotionally for all the things that are coming. Even just getting outside for 15, 20 minutes, getting some sunlight in your retinas, which like goes to your brain, will actually help your circadian rhythm. So literally scheduling it, putting it in your planner, getting outside for something. I like to go for a walk. I walk to the Starbucks. That's a few blocks away. I get a coffee with soy milk and I walk home. It makes a huge difference. The second thing we can do, set an end time. As dance teachers, we tend to always be available to our students and to our parents and to the, you know, choreographer that's guesting or whatever. If you schedule time, like this is the talk to me time, schedule an end time. Right. So if you are teaching a class and you know that your students and teachers are going to want to, or students and parents are going to talk to you afterwards, then you say, this is the time you can talk to me from 5:30 p.m. till 5:45 p.m. I will be here and I will be answering your questions. At 5:45 p.m., you step away. Like your time, setting an end time for everything is so important. Even like I have a go to sleep alarm. Like my alarm goes off when it's time for me to go to sleep because otherwise I'll lay in my bed and I'll scroll like, you know, the news and like read the news and like get all stressed out. And then, so in short, like if you are feeling burned out, or if you're like Susanne said, like, you know, this is the time to set up, you know, to stave off burnout is not when you're at stage 5, you know, it's when you're at stage 1 and things are going great. And that's when to set up time for yourself and make sure you're like keeping it away. It doesn't, you know, if you can take a month and go to a yoga retreat in, you know, Indonesia, like bust a move. But if you can't, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day scheduled, because if you don't schedule it, you won't do it. Get outside, move your body will help immensely.
I think we all should schedule a yoga retreat at least once a year, not to prevent or to recoup from burnout, but to like really get more accustomed with who we are. But you know what, Michelle, is so true.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I'm
we
down.
think oh yeah, okay, we're on a plane in 5.
Oh man, I wish.
The thing is that this culture has, you got to do more, you got to do more, you got to do more, you got to do more. And we never really put into place, but how do we, like, we're not something that you just pluck in the wall and off you go. Like you got to like restore yourself over and over and over again. And not understanding that the output requires input, and we're not really talking about what an input looks like, and not paying attention to how certain things make us feel. If I don't meditate, well, good luck, everybody. Like, I don't want to be around myself anymore if I don't sit down and like really go in. And these are all things that I think, particularly in the dance industry, have been overlooked for so many decades, and how important they are. And this is why we're talking about this. Burnout is not a Medal of Honor. It's not something that's going to get you the better roles. It's not something that will have the teacher like you more.
Yeah. I was listening, just a last thought from me before we wrap up. I was listening to this person talking about being a mom. And I promise this has to do with being a dancer and just being a mom. And she was saying, you know, when people see moms sacrificing for their kids, oh, that's such a good mom. She's such a good mom. When moms don't take care of themselves, oh, she's such a good mom. When a mom leaves her child with a babysitter to go get her nails done, or to go for a walk, or she just needs time away, no one is looking at that person except for me and the people here. Most people are not looking at that woman and saying, she is such a good mom. Look at her care for herself. And it's the same in the dance studio. We are not praising people who are taking time and setting those boundaries that we've heard about this entire episode. We just don't. The culture doesn't. And that has to flip, because we are consistently churning out educators and dancers who are trying to win most burnout award, because those are the kids that are getting the praise. Look how much they show up here. Look how much they sacrifice to be here. Look how much they do. And now here's the thing. Yes, when a student doesn't go to what they should go to because they're tired, there are consequences. No one here is saying like, ignore the consequences. If they miss rehearsal because they didn't feel good, there are consequences to that, but it doesn't have to be, you should have been here. I always say to my students, I'm proud of you for making the decision that you thought was best for you, period. And there are consequences that follow that. Of course, there are consequences to me drawing boundaries for myself. I know that, right? But as educators, we don't need to throw that in the students. Let the consequences be. Share that you're proud of them for making the decision that they feel is best for them, because you're not them, you know? It's easy to be like, you should have been here. Yep. And maybe that's true sometimes, right? That is, but we don't know what they're dealing with either. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
I think we need a second part on this episode. Coming soon.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you've liked this episode, please, please, please share with people that you think are interested, that could take the tips today, and please implement them into your life. Let us know if they're working. We love to hear feedback. Share, comment. You can find our podcast, Cultivating Happier Dancers. We have more episodes coming out. We have previous episodes. If you haven't listened yet, please do. You can also head for more free resources about this stuff. You can go to dancen.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter. You can find Dancen at Dancen Official. You can find Point to Rise, which is holding this series right now, also on Instagram. So find us. We are your tribe. We're your community. Share, and we hope to see you next time.
Awesome. Love it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.